Welcome, my lovelies, to a balancing class today. We're going to do a mix match between Hatha and Pilates. So we're going to start with Pilates and then do yoga. So I have a chair with me because I'm going to do a pose that it does not scare a lot of people. It puts a lot of people off because it is quite a challenging balance pose. However, if you use a chair, it can make it a little bit more accessible. So I'm going to show you how to use a chair, but you can use a wall, you can use the side of your couch, your breakfast bar, anything that's available to you, you can use that, okay? So, so apart from the chair, you don't need anything else. Now with balance, if you've seen my other videos before, I'm sure you've heard me talk about it, but if this is the first balance video that you're doing with me, I just want to cover how your foot works, but also the surface that you're standing on will make a big difference to your balance, okay? So if you're on a hard surface, it'll be a little bit easier. If you're on a soft surface, like maybe your carpet is very fluffy and cozy, then it's going to be harder to balance on. So just be mindful what you're standing on. And then in terms of the feet, there's lots of reasons why people's balance can be bad. It could be people with bunions and the toes are in the wrong direction. The toes have started moving in that direction. It's very hard to balance. Someone might have equinus foot where the bones of the foot, they're quite like an arch. The arch is quite high and the toes, quite hard to explain, the toes are a little bit stuck up. So if you find, this is a way you can almost, it's not a definite test, but this is what I look at clients. If you struggle to do a squat and you feel like you're falling backwards when you're doing a squat, pop a little cushion or something, or even fold your mat and pop your heels on it. And just see how that feels. Does it feel a little bit more stable for you? So you can also try that if you find your balance is just like all over the place. Because there is this thing called equinus foot, which not many people know about. And it's got to do with the shape of the bones of the foot. Okay? So what we're going to focus on now is Tadasana feet, mountain pose feet. And this is probably, in my opinion, one of the most important poses in yoga because it's the ground, it's the foundation that we have with the ground. So if in all your standing poses, your foundation is set up incorrectly, then your balance is not going to work in your balance and the poses won't be in a good alignment, so to speak. So what I want you to think about is spreading your toes. So having the feet hip-width apart, so the knees are under the hips. So just spreading your toes as much as you can. So pop the ball of the foot into the floor and then try and shuffle the rest of the foot to the side so your toes are nice and spread. And then from there, lift your heels and imagine you're trying to touch the back of the mat with your heels. So it's kind of the sensation of trying to widen your foot and lengthen the foot. And then if you gently push the toes down into the mat, can you feel how your arches all of a sudden feel like they're sucking up? And you might even feel your quads start to work, the fronts of your legs, okay? So it's rather than just like standing there in that position, there's a little bit of integrity in the ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, and in the hips, okay? So from here, I just want to get into the alignment first, and then we're going to take it into a Pilates move called heel raises. So lengthen your spine up towards the ceiling. As you lengthen, you might notice how your abdominals naturally draw in. So this whole area pulls in. You might even feel the pelvic floor if you're lucky. And then have a shoulder roll. Drop the shoulders into the back pockets. Lengthen the ears away from the shoulders. So relax in those shoulders. Now all I want you to do is just come onto the ball of the foot. Doesn't matter if your foot lifts an inch or not. And I want you to notice, I'm going to exaggerate it. As you come up, do your heels want to do that? Or do your feet want to do that? Do they want to roll out? So with this, we want all that weight to be in the ball of the foot. Okay, almost like the pinky toes can come off. But harder when you're only doing a low one, but we're going to build up. So coming up onto the ball of the foot, Notice if your heels are trying to roll out. I can feel my left one has. But also notice the rest of the body. If you limp, it's going to make your balance harder. So I want you to think of contracting all the muscles. Keep it nice and lengthened. Drop the shoulders. Gaze is forward. And then release it down. So take a breath in. As you exhale, maybe you can come a little higher. Give your bum a little squeeze into your inner thighs. Does that help with your balance? Relax your shoulders and your fingers. And then release down. Taking a breath. And as you exhale, maybe you can go a little higher. So the higher you go, the more I want you to start thinking of squeezing an imaginary ball between your heels. So there's this action of the heels pulling inwards. Whoop, whoop. They still haven't touched the floor. It's only balance. Don't get cross with yourself. And then bring it down again. So breath in. So take it up onto the ball of the toes. Now imagine you squeezing a ball between the ankles, squeeze your thighs, squeeze your bums. Relax the shoulders and your hands. How high can you go? And then release. We're going to do one more. So coming up onto the ball. Now if you've got long toes like me, you might even be able to think of lifting the baby toes off of the mat. I've still got that foot injury that I'm managing. And then release down. Oh, can you feel the leg burn? So give your legs a little shake. So we've warmed up these ankles, so they should be nice and ready for your balance now. So I want you to think of those Tadasana feet and the rolling in of the foot and the rolling out of the foot as you come into your balance. Now I have the chair in this position because it's kind of my height, but you could, if you wanted to, have it that way. Just make sure that your chair is stable. So like I said, it's on the mat so it doesn't slide. You could even have it that way, however you want to have your chair. So the distance between your feet and the chair should be the same distance between your hip and your armpit. So if your chair's over here, you can see my back is all rounding, okay? So the chair needs to be further so that when I come into balance, I can straighten the spine. So you might just need to have a little play with that. So get yourself ready. I'm going to give you a couple of breaths just to get your chair in the right position. And then come into mountain pose. So having your feet slightly hip-width apart. Think of those toes just gently activating. They're pushing into the floor and lengthen the spine. Have a shoulder roll. Now bring the weight onto the left leg, and I want you to actually have a little bend in that left leg. Squeeze your left bum cheeks, take your hands, pop it onto your left hip. Now squeeze your right bum cheek and the right hamstring. Keep your knees straight, so squeeze your kneecap and see if you can just take that leg a little bit further back. Okay, so you can see I just used my toe for balance. Now what we want to try and do is keep the head and the foot like a seesaw. So whatever the head does, the foot is going to do the opposite. So the reason I want you to keep the hands on the hips is just to get some feedback as to whether the hips are staying forward or whether they're going to tilt. Okay? But we're going to put the hands down on the chair quickly. So from here, start to hinge. So try not to think of trying to send the head down. Just send the leg up. That will naturally send the head down. Are your hips staying forward? Now, if you want to, you can pop your hands onto the chair. Like I said, this chair is quite light, so I can move it. Have your arms soft. Your gaze is going to be towards the front of the chair, your mat. So we don't want to be looking there. It's going to make your spine round. Now, as you hinge, can you go a little deeper into it? Squeeze your right bum cheek so the leg is in line with the head. Now experiment with points in the back toes, the high toes, or flexing. I like to flex because it makes me feel like my knee's nice and strong there. Now, has your right hip tilted out? So if you feel any discomfort on the left knee, the hip's probably rolling out. So I want you to think of bringing that hip back facing forward. Make sure those shoulder blades are going down the back. Keeping that knee soft if you want. If you do straighten it, just be mindful you're not locking it out, so you're not just hanging out in the joint. I like to have bent knees because it makes those muscles work. 2 more breaths. Now, if you want to go a step further, just see if you can take a little bit of weight out of your hands. And then you soon realize how much weight you got in your hands. On your next inhale, just slowly allow the leg to come down. And then just take yourself down into a little forward bend. Just pedal your legs. Just giving them a nice little release. Take a breath in at the bottom and then just roll yourself up 1 vertebra at a time. Shoulder roll at the top. So we're going to do the other side now. So this side might be a lot wobbly on my foot. So balance onto the right foot. Engage your right bum cheek. That's going to stabilize the pelvis so that you don't hang out the hip. Lengthen. Hands are on the hips. Soften that right knee. Now send the left leg back, keeping that knee nice and straight. Now as you send the leg up, the head will naturally come down. Now I can feel my left hand is going towards the ceiling a little bit, so the hip is rolling. Taking the hand towards the chair and then going into it as deep as you want to go. Okay? So in this position, check again. You can point or flex, but make sure your rear leg is straight. So I really want you to imagine there's a button behind you that you're trying to push, and if you push it, you're going to get a chocolate cake. So reach that leg behind you. Reach the crown of the head in front of you. Send the shoulders down the back. Now for me personally, because I've damaged this foot, I know my balance is not great on here, and also don't want to hurt it any further. So I'm not going to try and balance too much on here. I am using the arms a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Don't be so, judgmental for yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. This is still working. I can still feel that right bum cheek kicking in. Just making sure that that left hip. Taking another breath. And then bend your knee, take the left leg back in, relax down on the chair, and again have those little pedal legs. Take a breath in at the bottom and exhale as you roll up. Have a shoulder roll at the top. Whew, good. So just coming back into mountain pose. Inhale as your hands come up to the ceiling. Exhale as your hands come down to your heart. And from my heart to yours, thank you for practicing with me today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.